This is Matt from MGMT Boston. We have Brian, the co-founder of Wonderment, now Loop, on this episode of Lantern to talk about what he's built to get this company to a successful acquisition, what he's working on now, what that experience was like, and what to think about when it comes to e-commerce in Boston. So Brian, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, great to be here.
First question, tell us what Wonderment is. What was that process to build a successful business to an acquisition by Loop, and what are you working on now?
Yeah, definitely. So for just the super quick story, we started this business in 2020 with not even a product concept, just three people who were like, let's go build something. And we grabbed onto a problem and found that it was really attractive in shipping and discovered that like shipping and logistics was a really painful issue that the existing vendors were like not equipped to handle the specific pains that came up during the pandemic. They were all optimized around what happens when everything's going well and nothing around what happens when everything's going poorly. And so from there, we discovered that there was a real opportunity in customer experience for e-commerce. And so my job as like head of product co-founder was to really think deeply about like all of the shopping experiences that someone goes through in e-commerce and like what are the bad experiences from a customer's perspective?
Right.
Like what are the confidence breakers? What are like the trust breakers that a customer might have with a brand that makes them say like, I'm never buying from the store again? And how do we defeat all of those obstacles? And so we started with shipping and then started to broaden out into the rest of like customer experience management for those e-commerce stores and found that that was a real winning formula for brands that were like buried in shipping issues, buried in customer support tickets, and looking for better ways to handle that.
Right. Now, you took Wonderment from absolutely nothing to a successful acquisition. What was that process like? What did you learn from it that you would, tell all of us?
Yeah, definitely. So at the spring, summer of 2024, we were looking at the business and we were having an awesome 2024. Everything was going the way that we had hoped, but we saw that 2025 probably had a lot of headwinds in it.
Sure.
Economically, politically, in the industry, everything was changing. We were like, hey, if we're going to exit this business, now might be like the best moment possible to do so. And so we reached out to a bunch of companies that we had been in contact with, that we were friendly with, and got a lot of interest right away. Loop in particular was really excited about us. We had met some of their team before. We had worked on a product integration together. So they weren't like total strangers to us.
Right.
But when we brought them like that proposal, they were really, really excited about it because they were looking for ways to like reclaim a little bit of the startup magic as they had turned into a bigger company. And so seeing like a small startup that could identify problems quickly, ship products really quickly, and stay really closely in tune with the customers, they found that incredibly exciting. And so it made up for a really great match. So, I mean, the things that were most important to them, we had an amazing team. They were really excited to see a bunch of e-commerce veterans that had been working on a single problem really diligently for years. And they were like, that is exactly the kind of profile that we're looking for. Like deep expertise, had been solving this hard problems for a long time. And they thought that was awesome. And then they were really excited that we had run like a real business underneath that as well. Our burn was very low and very well managed. Business was growing at a really healthy rate. They were not afraid that they were going to inherit a big burden onto their balance sheet or that their burn rate was suddenly going to skyrocket or anything. They could tell that there was a really well-run, well-managed business underneath that. And they were really excited to get to work with us that way.
Congrats to the Wonderment team. It's awesome. Now, as a commerce veteran, worked at Klaviyo, now run this Wonderment business, successfully acquired by Loop, which is awesome. What are you seeing as the future of e-commerce? What's happening in commerce in Boston that you want to share with the rest of the community?
Yeah, there's a lot of really exciting next generation of e-commerce startups coming up in Boston right now that I'm definitely keeping my eye on. The Copley team, the Swapped team, the Patrol team, like they're building totally new stuff. They're working with new technologies that didn't exist 5 years ago that help them go so much faster and more efficiently. They're experimenting with their business models and trying to find other ways to grow that can be a lot more profitable or a lot easier to manage. And so I think that's just really exciting to see this new generation of companies really thriving.
Definitely. And what would you pass back to maybe up and coming founders who are going to successfully exit a business in the coming years, up and coming operators who want to learn, what it takes to grow a successful startup? What would you tell them?
I think one of my most important lessons is amazing onboarding is so critical. It is really easy when you're an early stage startup to say like, hey, we're just going to like swallow the pain of onboarding ourselves and we're just going to focus on sales and trying to build revenue. And then 2 years goes by and like customers can't set themselves up and you have this huge onboarding team that's managing that. And you're like, oh, did we kind of paint ourselves into a corner by not thinking about that merchant experience? especially in commerce, like
Right.
merchants are used to being able to like download and buy and start using a tool on their own. And then if they're interested in going further, then they'll talk to a sales team or something like that. And if you don't have like a good first use experience that the merchant can just dive into and feel comfortable with, I think it's going to be harder going.
Yeah. And last but not least, like, how can we help you? How can we help you in Boston, in the commerce world, grow and beyond?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm still looking for new commerce ideas. We are building new software all the time
Cool.
at Loop. I'm working on new stuff. The Wonderment team is continuing to build new functionality. All of Wonderment product engineering is still together at Wonderment, just inside of Loop now. So it's given us a great opportunity to just deploy more resources and keep attacking those problems.
Perfect. This is Brian from Wonderment, now Loop. Matt from MGMP Boston in this episode of Lantern. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Matt.